'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the towns not a horseman was seen, not a hoof on the grounds. The legend that we seek is traveling through the sky. A bearded man in red, pulled by a reindeer that can fly. Welcome to the historic villages of Tarrytown and Sleepy Hollow, where the villagers love Christmas almost as much as Halloween. During the holidays in the Hudson Valley, the legend of the Headless Horseman takes a backseat to the even older Dutch legend of Sinterklaas. I am Jonas, and with my wife Lindsay we are on a festive journey to explore the legends and lore of Santa Claus and his connections to Sleepy Hollow country. Along the way, we will encounter legendary figures of Yuletide like Saint Nicholas and Krampus. We'll learn about New York literary legends Washington Irving and Clement Moore, who introduced a jolly Christmas to America in the 1800s. Let's kick off the holiday season in the Hollow with festive decorations, events and gift shopping. Step back in time to a Victorian Christmas in a historic setting. Celebrate the bicentennial of the beloved poem A Visit from Saint Nicholas, or as you might know it, The Night Before Christmas. We'll also welcome some special guests to the villages that share the gift of storytelling. You are invited as a virtual visitor, so let us begin the journey that by the end will have us all saying
Happy Holidays! Merry Christmas!
Greetings from Patriots Park in Tarrytown.
We're here at the Christmas tree lighting ceremony, and it feels like the official kickoff of the holidays here in Sleepy Hollow country.
We are now going to see the local festivities in the 3rd annual Winter Stroll.
We think it's going to be a jolly good time, so come along with us.
The Thatch Holiday Farmers Market is in full swing, offering the best of Hudson Valley. My personal tradition is to stop by Bear Mountain Coffee Roasters booth and fill up my cabinet with the right flavor for the holiday. The Tarrytown and Sleepy Hollow Winter Stroll is the perfect opportunity to enjoy festive treats and extended shopping hours throughout the two villages. So we are going to stop by Bella's Boutique for a little chat with the owner while we drop off my new wintry Sleepy Hollow prints that are also available in my Etsy shop online. Happy holidays!
Happy holidays!
All the local businesses are decorated and ready to welcome holiday shoppers with Christmas cheer.
Happy holidays from the Butcher Real Estate team.
An old-fashioned jolly trolley connects the villages for the evening, making it easy to shop local and get in the mood for the season.
It's that time of year for dreams of snow and stolen kisses 'neath the mistletoe, for kids from 1 to 96 with eyes and hearts aglow. Ding dong, bells they chime, for now it's Christmas time. Yuletide carol choirs, angels in the snow, chestnuts, open fires, rides from long ago. Hark the herald, all ye faithful, golden days of yore. Listen to the same old songs 1,000 times and more. Ding dong, bells they chime, for now it's Christmas time.
We pop into Transom Bookshop to check out the latest reads and pick up a special book whose author is meeting up with us to share her expertise of the legends of Christmas and the connection between Washington Irving and Santa Claus. So stay tuned with us and we'll bring you with us later in this video.
2,000 years ago, ding dong, bells they chime, for now it's Christmas time.
Hey, did you know that I created this one for the first Winter Stroll ever? And now it's his third.
That's
It's
so
fun.
special.
Fun to see it still alive.
It's fun to see them all over town around the holidays. And now, where are we going?
We're gonna go to Horse Feathers.
Of course.
As we arrive, we bump into a popular German Christmas legend, Krampus. He's a half goat, half monster creature whose name means claw. Historically, on Krampus night, December 5th, you better watch out if you're on the naughty list. But we are in luck because everyone is on the nice list this evening at Horsefeathers restaurant. This is what we like to call the local dining hall of Sleepy Hollow country. We always feel in good company with the lovely staff, the festive decorations and literary legends as we raise a cup of cheer. The Winter Stroll has come to an end and we've encountered one holiday legend so far, but we're still on a journey to explore the lore of Santa Claus.
Let's take a quick moment to thank the sponsor that made this video possible. Eco Susie is the leading vintage-inspired bag and accessory brand. Eco Susie bags are the perfect academia accessory for carrying around our favorite books, notes, and filming gear on our strolls around charming towns and on weekend getaways. We love that all the products use vegan materials so they are animal and eco-friendly. Eco Susie's vision of style and functionality shines through every high-quality and timeless product. Each bag has a classic design with modern upgrades such as compartments for ease of access for technology. The messenger bag can easily transform for different occasions with a detachable bow and sturdy clips that easily turn a briefcase into a backpack. They're just the perfect size to carry a laptop. Fellow academics and adventurers, please click the link in the description to find your new favorite bag for your next charming travel. Thank you, Eco Susie, for sponsoring this video.
It is a chilly morning in Tarrytown, and we are on our way to Transom Bookshop to meet Pamela McColl. She is an author and art historian, and we are going to talk about Washington Irving's connections with Santa Claus. Pamela has written "'Twas the Night", the art and history about the classic Christmas poem. It is a wonderful 264-page book filled with exciting facts and history, as well as gorgeous illustrations from when it first was written until our modern days.
Greetings from Transom Books in Tarrytown, and I'm so happy to introduce you to Pamela McColl. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your lovely books?
Sure. I'm an author and a publisher, and I celebrated the night before Christmas 200th birthday by bringing out an art history book about the poem, and it took me 10 years to work on this book and to bring it to fruition because it was a large research project on the art that's associated with it. And then I brought out the 200th edition of the poem for the bicentennial. So my book, really starts in the 3rd century of the Roman Empire with the story of Saint Nicholas and how the threads of that wonderful legend of generosity of spirit weave their way through Western culture, through Europe, through into America, and then developed through the centuries. At times I thought I was writing the history of the world because it's a very complex, cultural history, but it was great fun. And it's 264 pages on a poem, which some people find crazy. That how could you write 264 pages on a poem? But there's a incredible amount of art here. There's Andy Warhol, there's Leyendecker, there's Rockwell, there's Darley, there's Jessie Wilcox Smith. I mean, it goes on and on. Maxwell Parrish. So many people came to it from an art point of view, but then so many people came to it from a literary point of view too, from Washington Irving, and Charles Dickens was involved later on. His Christmas Carol is 20 years after 'twas, but he still, he comes into the whole tradition of Christmas in America. So great project. I loved it. Every minute of it. I miss working on it. Clement Moore was born in Manhattan and Chelsea. His family owned all of the Chelsea area, acres and acres of it. His father was the Bishop of the Diocese of New York, President of Columbia University, gave the last rites to Alexander Hamilton, so influential family. Clement Moore was educated at Columbia as well, and then he taught at the General Theological Seminary that still stands in Chelsea. And he had 9 children, but at the time when he wrote the poem he had 6, and they especially wanted a Christmas poem. So he wrote it for his children, and it was never intended to be published. And so it made its way to the Troy Sentinel newspaper through a family friend. And so that's why it was anonymous, was because Clement Moore had no intention of having it published. And he actually didn't even know about it till 1837, 15 years later, that it had been published. So I think at the time when he found out that it had been put in print, he was pleased because by then it had been shared so many times and it was very popular. And I believe it was the encouragement of his mother and his friends and his wife and his children that he should take claim to it and put his name to it. So that's how it all came about. There are people who believe that Clement Moore may have, taken the poem as his wrongfully. I have studied the man. I've read his diaries. I've read letters from his children, his grandchildren, his students. I've studied the man's history, his background, his education. He was a very humble man. He was very gracious and very honest and very educated and very prosperous and very wealthy. And his accolades were the fact that he wrote the first Hebrew dictionary in America. He brought opera to New York, and he didn't need a feather in his cap. Everything I've read, he was a very honest man. So it's a very hard leap on case to make, and there is no credible evidence that it was written by Henry Livingston II. It's all family hearsay, which came out 60 years after the fact. I think if there was some claim that had some validity, it should have showed up a long time ago, and it hasn't. So it's Moore's. The really interesting part for me with Washington Irving is his trip to Scotland when he goes to meet Sir Walter Scott, and Sir Walter Scott's influence on Washington Irving as far as is encouraging him to learn German and to read German folk tales. When he does travel to Scotland to meet Sir Walter Scott, he comes back and he writes Sleepy Hollow and he writes Rip Van Winkle, but he also writes Christmas stories based on his experience in Scotland. And if you look at the work of Dickens and and Washington Irving, you see the influence of Sir Walter Scott. And of course, with Dickens, you see the influence of Washington Irving. But specifically, the Santa Claus story and Saint Nicholas in Manhattan in Knickerbocker, written by Washington Irving, he references Saint Nicholas 25 times, and he has him flying over the skies of Manhattan in a wagon. So it's really this that sort of brings it into Manhattan, into the Knickerbocker group, which Moore was a fringe member of. And there were other people in the Knickerbockers who encouraged the St. Nicholas legend. Julian Verplanck, John Petard, all these people were very keen on creating a calmer Christmas spirit in Manhattan at the time. In the 1810s, 1820s, it was very rowdy, lots of drinking, lots of violence, lots of guns going off, lots of misrule. So people would come to your house and they'd barge in and demand things. And so this was an effort. I would never say that Washington Irving was a political writer or had that in his mind. He was a romantic writer, but he definitely was in his time where there were influences to try and orchestrate it. And it's really fascinating because December the 6th is St. Nicholas Day. And Knickerbocker came out on St. Nicholas Day at the New York Historical Society. So there was a really big effort to really celebrate St. Nicholas and to bring him into the homes of Americans. The reason that I think that the poem has survived 200 years is that it is often read to a child early in childhood by a loved one, so a grandparent or parent. And that experience is part of their memory of Christmas, which is filled with nostalgia and tradition and fun and merriment and creative thinking. And I think it's that reason that it survived. When I see somebody buy my book or read the edition I've produced of 'Twas Night for Christmas, or any other edition, and I know they're going to read it to a grandchild, I get a great feeling because I know that child's going to have the same legacy, and they're going to read it to their children and their grandchildren, and that the poem will have another 200 years. Every Christmas Eve, families gather and read this poem aloud. Unlike Dickens' Christmas Carol, which people often watch on TV or see a play or go out, but 'Twas Night for Christmas is read as a family unit. And sometimes people do that with Dickens, but not as often as 'twas. So I think that's really why. There's another really big reason. Clement Moore turned St. Nicholas into an elf. He took it into the secular world so it could be shared with national, multiracial and multi-religious groups. But he also introduced the reindeer, and he took away the birchen rod. And so in the lines of the poem, it says nothing to dread, and it means literally, there's no threat of punishment. Moore is a very Christian-based individual, and the concept of non-judgment is inherent in the poem. And I think that is really important, because if it had had this threat of punishment, I don't think it would have survived. And it certainly wouldn't be read at the White House every year by the First Lady if there was a threat of you little children who were bad being, beaten up by a stick. I mean, that just wouldn't be happening in this century. So thank goodness he took that out. And I think it reflects the kind of man he was. Very generous and kind. Well, Moore and Washington Irving and the Knickerbockers and John Petard and everybody got it going. But it wasn't until after the Civil War that it really goes, because everybody had experienced so much horror and divisiveness and pain and suffering and death and everything else. And they just wanted to come home and experience Christmas, and they wanted to experience family. And by then you have the Christmas tree. And you also have railroads instead of stagecoaches. You can start to move around books and newspapers. And Thomas Nast comes to the scene with great illustrations, and a lot of other people come with printing presses, and you can do color illustrations and color books, and it really takes off. And very much thanks to Sarah Hale. What I find really interesting is that the poem is considered by many as the most famous poem ever written in the English language. I mean, people can get stuck on the word famous. We can call it the most often recited. We can call it the most often reprinted or the most often re-illustrated. It's extremely famous. It's in every major language, including Yiddish. It's just been so widely shared and loved. I think it's important because it's tied into this whole American dream of wishing and hoping and faith and trust and belief. It is, and it's magical thinking. I think that's why Disney loved it so much. Disney did multiple editions of this, and Mickey Mouse came to it, and it's right into the Jiminy Cricket sitting on a rock wishing on a star concept. And Lana's sitting in the pumpkin patch. It's all about this magical thinking, belief, and very good values of generosity of spirit. It comes from Saint Nicholas, the legend of Saint Nicholas, which is anonymous giving and giving to people in need, and that's a very inherent Christian value that more want to, share it through this wonderful secular poem. Really interesting. I always think if you don't have creative characters and fictional characters that travel with you and you can rely on, life gets very gray. I prefer to live in color, and that's why I see fiction and creative thinking and magical thinking as living in full color. And so I embrace Santa Claus and all these other characters, and I think it just enhances life, makes it not just manageable but fun.
Fun and charming, right?
Yeah, it's charming.
Thank you so much, Pamela, for
You're welcome. Glad we made this happen.
Yes, and so glad to have you here in Tarrytown.
Yeah, it's great. Happy 200th birthday to us. Merry Christmas, everyone.
From Transom Bookshop in Tarrytown.
After our lovely visitor Pamela departs, we linger a little amongst the captivating bookshelves. After all, Tarrytown is a literary-loving town filled with legends and lore, and here reading your head off is highly recommended. Thank you Transom Bookshop for letting us film in your fine establishment. May we suggest making it a cozy tradition to share the gift of storytelling this holiday season by picking up a cozy read from your local bookstore.
Just up Main Street, the doors are open to the bygone glamour of the Tarrytown Music Hall. Built in 1885, it is the oldest operating theater in Westchester that has hosted some of the best musicians and performers of the arts. But today we aren't here to attend a show. We've come to the holiday market. This curated shopping event highlights the best products from regional artists and makers, and it's a unique chance to see the local businesses take center stage in this historic and perhaps haunted venue.
We are outside the Reformed Church of the Tarrytowns on a very special day for the Dutch community.
Today is December 6th, and that means it is Saint Nicholas Day. And I have my little friend here all the way from Holland. And have you heard the legend of Sinterklaas?
We are going to head inside to learn more about the legend of the Dutch Sinterklaas.
Guys, good? Very good. Very good. Well, we first heard about Santa Claus, or Nicholas as he was known, came from a country called Myra.
Saint Nicholas, or Sinterklaas, lived in Myra, which is nowadays Turkey. He was a 4th century patron saint of children, whose habit of secret gift-giving gave rise to our traditional model of Santa Claus.
He walked to the house of the father and his 3 daughters, and he stood beneath the window of the girl's bedroom, and one by one, he tossed 1, 2, all 3 bags of gold coins into the girl's bedroom window. And the deeds began to mount. Soon Nicholas became Bishop Nicholas. And he was the bishop over all the land here in Myra. And the story spread far and wide of his kindness to children, of his kindness to the poor.
The Dutch brought his legend to New Amsterdam, which is now called New York, as well as their custom of celebrating him every December 6th on Saint Nicholas Day. According to custom, Sinterklaas makes an appearance sometimes the night before on Saint Nicholas Eve, leaving gifts and sweets for people to enjoy when they wake up the festive morning. If you have been lucky to spot him, you would have noticed that he is not coming alone, but riding on a big white beautiful horse that loves carrots. Therefore, it is highly recommended that you leave some of those for him in your shoes before you go to bed.
The girls would find, the children would find their shoes filled with good things, and they'd know that Sinterklaas was there.
Sinterklaas gaat shut, leg runs in my shoe shut, leg runs in my heart shut, down goes Sinterklaas shut.
Give yourselves a hand.
Here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane. Lifting with tune on his reindeer, pulling on the rein. Bells are ringing, children singing, all is merry and bright. Hang your stockings, say your prayers, 'cause Santa Claus comes tonight. Here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane. He's got a bag filled with toys for girls and boys again. Hear those sleigh bells jingle jangle, oh what a wonderful sight. So jump in bed and rest your head, 'cause Santa Claus comes tonight. Sinterklaas! There he is!
The sky is clear over the Hudson River tonight, and there's a magic in the air. It is easy to imagine that soon we'll see jolly old Saint Nick flying over the Tappan Zee on the night before Christmas.
On this rainy day, we are about to step back in time to an old-fashioned Christmas. The Historical Society serving Sleepy Hollow in Tarrytown has opened the doors to the Jacob Odell House, built in 1848. We gladly enter feeling right at home as their seasonal exhibit is entitled Home for the Holidays. We are kindly served hot cocoa and cookies while we admire the vintage tea sets and place settings. Upstairs, we find ourselves in good company as we try our hands at traditional Christmas crafts from the Victorian era. With the sweet fragrance of oranges and cloves, our senses feel calm and peaceful as we chit-chat and nerd out about history. The Historical Society preserves the memories of the community and, of course, the legend of Sleepy Hollow. We can almost hear Washington Irving's own words from his short story, Old Christmas, whispering through the house. Christmas is the season for kindling the fire, for hospitality in the hall, the genial flame of charity in the heart.
Happy holidays from the Historical Society! Happy holidays!
Happy holidays!
The spirit of Christmas is lingering in the cold Sleepy Hollow air, and we are happy to share a heartwarming greeting from the finest storyteller in the region, an important message from his performance of A Christmas Carol in the Old Dutch Church of Sleepy Hollow.
Greetings all, I'm Jonathan Kruk, here in the venerable Old Dutch Church, with a way to put a little charm into your life during the Christmas season. that Ebenezer Scrooge, redeemed, found a way to keep Christmas well. You can do so simply by not texting, not instant messaging or emailing, but calling a friend and sharing a little story. Maybe something about how you shared the first falling snow, a blizzard, or maybe some special time together. So think about that when you're wondering how to keep Christmas well. Thanks again.
The lights are twinkling, and the streets grow silent through the villages, as they await a visit from Saint Nicholas. We seek out a cozy spot where we can read to you "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," the beloved poem that was written 200 years ago. Our journey through the Christmas legends has shown us that a lot of time has passed since it was first published in 1823. Just like Saint Nick, the poem has gone through many different titles and variations over the centuries. But one thing we all know for certain is that Santa Claus has become the symbol of giving and good cheer. We hope the reading of this nostalgic poem continues to be a tradition to cherish for both young and old for at least another 200 years. "'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that Saint Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mamma in her kerchief, and I in my cap, had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave a luster of midday to objects below. When what to my wanderings I should appear, but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. No Dasher, no Dancer, no Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Dunder and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all! As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys, and Saint Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney Saint Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur, from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew, like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night."